What if I told you that almost all of my favorite booktubers will take part in this video again? I reached out again to some of my favorite booktubers and asked if they could tell me their favorite book of 2022, and almost everyone said yes. Thank you so much to everyone who made this video possible, and also please make sure to check out everyone's channel, which I'll link in the description down below. Alright, let's get into it. Take it away, Mike.
Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike here. Viking hit me up again and said, Mike, I want to know what your favorite book of 2022 is. So he wants me to reveal that answer before I make my own top 10 books of the year. But things can change between now and then, but I think, gun to my head at the moment, you're asking me to pick. I'm going to go with Swan Song by Mr. Robert McCammon, which is funny because I think at mid-year it was Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. So it has very much been a year of McCammon on my channel. But this book, what I love about it, guys, is about the journey, the destination that the characters get to by the end, and everything in between. I think it's amazing, amazing character work where they fight and they claw and they scratch for every inch that they get. Every time you think most people would have gave up, they find a reason to keep on going. So Viking, as a fellow Stephen King fan, I think that Robert McCammon should definitely be an author that is climbing up your TBR.
I'm Jay from the channel CapturedInWords, and one of the best books I have read in 2022, possibly one of the best books I've read ever, is A Book of the New Sun, Volume 1, Shadow and Bone by Gene Wolfe. George R.R. Martin describes this as one of the greatest science fantasy epics of all time, and so far, I agree. This is a dark fantasy dystopia. It has a hauntingly beautiful atmosphere. It has lush and vivid scenery in this dying world. It's just really incredible. And one thing that I love the most about it is the way that the author used the unreliable narrator. I've never seen that be done so well in a book before. I really enjoyed it. I recommend you give it a read.
Hello, my name is Andrew Givler, and I'm an author and booktuber. I'm also a gaming YouTuber known as Sigils. I like to stay busy. My favorite book this year was really hard for me to choose, but I've decided to select Dead Man's Hand by James Butcher. Now, this is a urban fantasy book. It's the first book written by James Butcher, who's actually Jim Butcher's son, you know, the author of the Dresden Files. James wrote his own urban fantasy series, and it is incredibly fresh, incredibly inventive, and I really freaking enjoyed it. So if you like urban fantasy, I highly recommend you check it out. I can't wait for the next installment. It's my favorite book of the year.
Hi, Liebraryofaviking. Thanks for having me. I'm Bookborn, and I talk about all things fantasy and sci-fi on my channel. At the beginning of the year, I said my favorite book of the year was The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. And I've read a lot of books since then, and I'm not changing my answer. The best book I've read this year is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. Now, I might cheat and just also add the rest of the trilogy of The Remembrance of Earth's Past on here, because it was this whole trilogy that was simply amazing from start to finish. It sounds dramatic, but I actually feel like this trilogy changed me in a profound way. I don't think I will ever view our galaxy or our universe in the same way ever again. If you love big ideas, challenging your perceptions and what you think you know, hard sci-fi, and don't mind that characters represent ideas and aren't necessarily fully fleshed out, I think you will absolutely love The Three-Body Problem and the entire trilogy. I hope you read it, I hope you love it, and let me know if you do. Bye.
Okay, but what about my favorite book of the year? It is near impossible to choose only one book, but Ship of Magic is definitely one of the highlights of the year, which is the first book in the Liveship Traders trilogy. Ship of Magic and the Liveship Traders trilogy as a whole cemented Robin Hobb as one of my all-time favorite authors. The character work is some of the best I have ever come across. The prose is beautiful and the payoff is so worth it. Yes, there are some pacing issues, but oh man, Hobb can write. I am incredibly excited to continue with the series with the Tawny Man trilogy sometimes in 2023, which will be one of my priority series to read and finish next year. Alright, take it away, Isa.
Hi, libraryofaviking. I'm Isa from FunFantasyBooks, and for this year, my favorite book has to be Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. If you're looking for an adventurous, intense, and unforgettable standalone, look no farther, because Guns of the Dawn will be all of these and more. It's the perfect blend between a character-driven story, but with the stakes that are so very high in that you will die to see what happens next. And overall, reading this book is like reading Pride and Prejudice, but with our main character, Emily Mashwick, fighting in a war. I really hope you enjoy it.
Hi, libraryofaviking. My favorite book of the year is a book that I actually finished today, and that is The Cuckoo by Leo Carew. This is the third and final book in the Under the Northern Sky series, which is one of my all-time favorite series. This is an alternate history fantasy, and it asks the question, what would medieval Northern Europe look like if more than one humanoid species had survived the Ice Age, to form language and culture. So we have a familiar Northern European map, but we have more than one humanoid roaming around. I love this series so much. This conclusion sticks the landing like nobody's business. I am completely blown away by this book. Cannot recommend highly enough. Just absolute 11 out of 10. So insanely good.
Hello everyone, my name is Holly from the YouTube channel HollyHeartsBooks. I'll be honest, it's so hard to narrow down my favorite book of the year as I had 10 all adult fantasy, if that shocks you, and I decided to go with the one that will in fact shock you. I finally read Theft of Swords. I finally put aside all of the shiny new fantasy books and read a cult classic, and it was the bromance of my dreams. Sullivan somehow dug into my brain like Ratatouille and popped out a book that was perfection. Now we can look forward to 2023 as not the year of the rabbit, but the year of Royce and Hadrian. Thank you, Library of a Viking, for having me.
Hi, Library of a Viking. My favorite book of 2022 was Flames of Mira. I won't talk behind the book. Flames of Mira. The main character is flesh-bound to do the bidding of his masters, and because of this it makes a really interesting character dynamics between the cast of characters. And if you're just going by pure cool factor, Flames of Mira has that too. An uninhabitable icy landscape surface, a chemical-based magic system, a mysterious, ageless sovereign ruling the continent with his powerful honor guard, and ancient histories and gods, hinting at deeper lore still. Highly engaging, unique world building, multifaceted character relationships. Has all the stuff and the things. If you like good books, you'll like this book, because it's good.
Hi everyone, Patrick here. Thank you so much for the invitation, Library of a Viking. And my pick for the best book of 2022 is again the same pick as last time, and it is The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. Now this is not completely final yet because I still want to read 2 more books before the end of the year, but if nothing changed after I finish reading those 2 books, then The Wall of Storms is my pick for the best book that I read within 2022. It is just a masterpiece in my opinion, one of the best sequels that I've read, and just like last time, there is no higher praises than saying that this is the best sequel that I've read since Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. Amazing stuff, really.
Hi Library of a Viking, thanks for having me on this video. I'm CoverswithCassidy and I read all things fantasy over on my channel, and today we're here to talk to you about my favorite book, which is A Touch of Light by Tiago Abdallah. I only have like 20 seconds to explain this book. Oh no, this book is beautiful. We're in the world of Averin where there's a plague which kind of resembles zombies, but they're done uniquely. We follow 3 characters. We follow Adrian, who is the second son to our king, but when his eldest brother dies, he has to become the eldest brother, and he always feels like he's just lost in his brother's footsteps. We follow Lynn, who is an rogue elite warrior. We see the magic system in her POV, and we definitely get to see a lot more of the ground workings of what's happening, like face level on the ground versus up top in politic levels. And then we follow Nasha, who lives in the clans, and she is cursed. She tends to feel everyone else's emotions, and sometimes this overwhelms her, and she goes on a killing spree. It's great, it's beautiful. I absolutely adored this. Tiago doesn't do any hand-holding, so it's not necessarily beginner fantasy friendly, but if you're looking for a bit more of an advanced read, something to make you think, something to make you feel, I definitely recommend this book. And book 2 comes out early next year. Again, thanks for having me on, and I hope lots more people pick up A Touch of Light.
Hello, Library of a Viking. Thank you for asking me to share with you my favorite read of 2022. And there were so many wonderful ones. This is a very difficult decision to come to, but in the end, there is a clear winner for me. It's my favorite read of the year, without a doubt, is The Crippled God by Stephen Erickson. This is book 10 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. It's my favorite book in the whole wide world by my favorite author, the culmination of my favorite series. And I cannot tell you just how moving and incredible this book is at the end of that monumental, unique series. I just found myself incredibly moved. I can tell you that I have never cried as much while reading a book as I did while reading The Crippled God. I just felt that connected to the characters and the story and the themes and everything else. It's just one of those life-changing reads. And I feel so fortunate to have read this for the second time, and I anticipate I'll be reading it many more times in the future because it is just that amazing.
Hey friends, it's Tori from the channel Tori Talks, and Johan, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this video. So it is going to be almost impossible for me to pick one book from my reads of 2022, so I'm going to pick the book that I cannot stop thinking about, and that is Never Die by Rob J. Hayes. This is absolutely one of my top 5 reads of the year, if not my favorite. I love the Motley Crew. I love that it has wuxia-inspired Asian-style fantasy. I love the characters. It has an amazing female character in this book. And the Motley Crew, as I said before, is one of my favorite tropes of all time. So it was an all-around win for me. It's so much fun. The character work is absolutely chef's kiss. So yeah, highly, highly recommend this book for my top reads of 2022.
Hi, Library of a Viking. Thank you for inviting me to share my favorite read of the year. This will make me feel a little bit like a fantasy-loving fraud, but my favorite read so far has been Stoner by John Williams. This is the opposite of epic fantasy. It follows an unremarkable man, William Stoner, an English college professor, but it touches on such important questions regarding what it means to lead a purposeful life, what it means to live with regret, what love means, and John Williams is a gifted writer. His prose is phenomenal, so I highly recommend this if you want a break from epic fantasy. As a runner-up, I'll just go ahead and say Enemy of God, Warlord Chronicles Book 2 by Bernard Cornwell. This book is loaded with incredible, heartbreaking moments, friendships, character work. If you love the truth, honor, courage, all those themes we tend to love as fantasy readers, you gotta check out this Arthurian retelling. Now, is it historical fiction? Is it historical fantasy? Best to read and find out.
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to my patrons who support what I do here. I really appreciate it.